welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Ganglani. Thanks for joining me. Shortly from now, we're going to be having Karl Batungbacal back on this podcast. We are going to react and give our thoughts and sentiments and everything else in between from the games Sunday at the Mall of Asia Arena. The NU Bulldogs now 8-2, sweeping the season series against the De La Salle Green Archers, and then another overtime thriller. I don't know what the record is for most overtime games in an elimination round in the UAAP Final 4 era. Should probably double check that. But my best guess is we've already surpassed it this season. I mean, we've had the triple overtime contest. We've had multiple overtime games. Adamson back-to-back overtime games last time around. They complete the epic comeback against UST. This time, FEU holds true in OT. So a lot to discuss, a lot to unpack as we get closer to the middle of the second round of the eliminations. And eventually, we're going to get to the final four. So Carl will join us to talk about all of that. But first, I want to share some good news. The Navs Effect podcast is partnering up with Daily Fantasy. And one of the reasons why is because I am excited to share about this superb new promo that Daily Fantasy is going to have starting November 5. So what is it? First of all, you gotta make sure to download the Daily Fantasy app or make sure to log in and use it online. You can win up to 100,000 per game just using your knowledge for the game of basketball and some math in between, shall we say, some statistics here and there. But Daily Fantasy is giving up to 1 million pesos over the next few weeks throughout November. There are going to be different games or 100,000 pesos are on the line in the prize pool, and the best performing player who drafted the best roster for that game with the best statistics and best numbers will win that prize. I mean, isn't this what many of us dreamed of when we were kids, to be told that we can make so much money by using our sports, particularly basketball knowledge and statistics? Speaking of fantasy season, I am enjoying this season's fantasy leagues I'm in so far. I have to say, it is much more productive. Just my tip, my personal tip, okay? You don't have to agree, you don't have to disagree, just my own personal experience. I tend to overthink when it comes to drafting my players and selecting which players to put. It's really helpful to go online and ask for help. Go to some experts, go to some databases that can crunch the numbers better than the human mind can. Just a tip from me. But again, daily fantasy, 100K on the line per game, up to 1 million pesos. And that pot is only going to increase as we get closer to Christmas. Make sure to check it out. All right, we'll be back shortly. Okay, we're now back and joined by Karl Batungbacal. Karl is once again here in the Navs Effect podcast. It's been really fun to have him. He has made quite a few fun takes ever since coming here, shall we say. I mean, who can forget about crowning UST at 5? And then going on the record to say he should draft TNT should draft Paul Francisco, the first round pick, over other notable guys. Well, right now UST is fourth, but they were fifth entering today. But that Paul Francisco draft pick of Carl, I have to say, it looked good earlier. Paul Francisco, I thought, was superb against DLSU. Carl, I mean, for the second straight episode, take your highlight walk, man. I mean, receive the praise, receive the flowers.
Now you got me cheesing over here because, there's a lot of talk about Paul Francisco being one of the more important pieces for NU this season because I think, aside from having a star player and having a reliable point guard in Steve Nash Enriquez and to a certain degree Tebol Garcia, Paul Francisco has been their connector, that glue guy, like someone you can trust aside from Jake Figueroa to take the shots, the hard shots and the clutch shots, which, as we saw earlier versus the LSU, turned out to be important for him and for the NU Bulldogs.
Absolutely. I'm not sure exactly what from the field, but I know he made way more than he missed. Let's actually bring the stats up here real quick, just to get to the data. So okay, I have the PBA stats right now. Well, I'm not sure how updated this is. We're recording on a Sunday night, November 2. Oh, a 30-point win for Ginebra over NLEX. I did not see that coming, but big win for Ginebra. They got off to a slow start. But the NU LaSalle game, Paul Francisco actually went 4 out of 4 from the field. Just part of an overall efficient shooting night from the Bulldogs, once again shooting above 50% against DLSU. I have to tell you, Carl, this was the first time in a while I haven't had a matcha in a day. I didn't get my usual matcha from Cooper's. And during that game, when I was watching, I felt like I needed that matcha just to get my energy up to the speed of the game because that was frantic, it was physical, there was some drama in between. Um, so, two important questions for you, Carl. One, have you finally tried that matcha from Cooper's? And number two, what did you think of NU's victory today?
Well, I did have a dirty matcha from Cooper's last Friday. So I had a good day.
Ay!
Not today though, because today is a Sunday and I am saving up. It's a Sunday. So it's home brews for me on a Sunday. But on Fridays, yes, I did treat myself. Now, going back to NU, what did I see NU doing correctly? The first is just swarming DLSU in the half court, in the full court. As I've stated previously in the podcast, right here, DLSU has trouble executing in the half court. Those problems came to bite them in the ass again today. Now, let's not discount the fact that Jake Figueroa playing the role of a safety or a cornerback in NFL football and taking away 6 steals from DLSU.
Wow.
And then that sideline interception that he had over in the, I think it was a cross court pass or a full court pass from DLSU. That really sealed the deal for the Bulldogs. But now the other thing is it was just timely shot making for NU. And importantly, I think we should highlight the defense. The defensive intensity was just insane. Kenshin Padrones is good. The effect is still there. He did get a couple of fouls early. Same goes for PJ Palacielo. But then when you have Joloman and Salah helping you out, Omar John stepping up to the plate, and then you have Steve Nash Enriquez with his patented, pesky defense, it was more than enough to get DLSU off balance for the better part of the game.
So I'm gonna read out some statistics to you that I find absolutely crazy and contributes to how impressive I thought the NU Bulldogs played in this game. NU took 52 field goal attempts. DLSU took 60. That's 8 more field goal attempts for LaSalle. Free throw shooting. NU was 12 of 18. DLSU 20 out of 36. So DLSU had twice the amount of free throws that NU did. Rebounding, DLSU won by 1, 37-36. Turnovers, you mentioned Jake Figueroa had 6 steals, right? So clearly DLSU, or rather NU, did a better job protecting the ball than DLSU did. Not actually. 15 turnovers for LaSalle. However, 22 turnovers for NU. And yet NU still had more points of turnovers than DLSU did. And so many times, this is not one of them. The winner of a basketball game, particularly between competitive teams, in this case, teams fighting for the top seed in the UAAP standings, comes down to who wins the possession battle. We see the possession battle determine winners in so many different basketball games in the past, whether that's UAP, NBA, PBA, wherever you want to get your basketball. And from the statistics, with DLSU winning the possession battle, they should have won that game. But from the second quarter onward, when NU went up by 13, they were in control. Now, DLSU had a pretty explosive first quarter. They ended up scoring 26 of their 67 points in that first period when the offense looked humming and they looked like they were just peaking at the right time. And then NU shut off the gates in the second period, tightened up the screws on defense, kept their guys in front of them. But the number one thing to me that made this victory for NU so good was their efficiency from the field. They shot 51.9%. That's 52% if you round up from the field, including an efficient 9 out of 18, 50% from downtown. We mentioned Paul Francisco was 14 points, 4 of 4 from the field. Steve Nash Enriquez had 16 points, 6 of 8 from the field, including 4 of 4 from downtown. Omar John, 12 points and 5 of 8 shooting. Ironically, the guy who struggled for NU was Jake Figueroa, 5 points and 2 of 9 shooting, to go with 8 rebounds, however, and 6 assists and 6 steals. Now, that's something that's so impressive. What differentiates a good scorer from a star is when you take away the scoring of the player, can he contribute in other ways? And Jake Figueroa is a star because he can contribute in other ways. And speaking of that context, bookmark that. We're going to talk about another player with a similar contribution later on. So it was a 10 out of 10 for me in terms of impressiveness from the Bulldogs because their shooting was exquisite. Okay, I'm sorry. I would have to go 9 out of 10 because 22 turnovers, that means you didn't do a very good job taking care of the ball. But a 9 out of 10 because they lost the possession battle. DLSU took twice the free throws that they did. The Bulldogs didn't exactly get off to a rush start. DLSU was actually the team playing with pace and momentum early on. And yet, despite all of that, the Bulldogs not only won, but won controlling the game second quarter onward. This to me, now that they're 8-2, was NU's most impressive win of the season, easily.
No, there's no doubt about that at all because NU earlier, they made Jacob Cortez struggle to be a point guard. That was the biggest, I think that was one of the things that we were talking about in the group chat earlier. That Jake, this is the worst game that
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Cortez has had so far as a DLSU Green Archer. Now that coupling that with the rebounding battle that NU won by, no, actually DLSU won it by one, which is weird to me because DLSU is supposed to be the team that's crashing the boards. On the offensive glass, yes, they did do that, but on the defensive side, they didn't. And you had eight more defensive boards, and that was an important part of the game, especially when it came down to the crucial moments. So it wasn't the most. I think it was the more head scratchingly confusing performances for LaSalle. But then again, you can't take away credit from NU for just pulling off that defensive masterclass.
To your point about Jacob Cortez, I agree. This was the first game since he put on a DLSU uniform that I've really see. I mean, I really saw Jacob bothered by what the defense was trying to do. Now, he's had some games like that last time they played UE and of course the game against Ateneo where he's not shooting great from the field. But in terms of the defense getting him out of the spot he wants to receive the ball in, making it hard for him. And you saw that they were really fatiguing his body. They were attacking him, they were defending him with physicality. Now, granted, NU has the pieces to do that. Yes, Enriquez Garcia and Yumamoy are not as tall as Cortez, but you look at the rest of that lineup: Manansala, Figueroa, Francisco, Mark Parks. If you're Jacob and you just have someone bigger and longer like that guarding you the full 94 feet, making it hard for you to catch the ball cleanly, you're gonna be forced to make some rush decisions. And there were a few times in this game I saw him drive to the paint and then just kick it out last minute, and then it resulted to a turnover because it was clear the guy who was going to receive the ball was not expecting the pass. There were some really weird looking step back jumpers. Granted, he's made a lot of them this season too, but there were some that were really forced, and I was surprised they didn't even hit the rim. Some were air balls. And then there was that last turnover. I believe it was like with a little over a minute to go, and you kind of had the game in the bag, but DLSU had the chance to rally, and he threw a full court pass. He wanted it to get to Obadam, but then Figueroa intercepted it. So I thought that the physicality and the defensive play of NU bothered Jacob in that regard. And when you can bother Jacob, when you can bother the head of the snake, it's hard for DLSU to run other actions to get the ball going, to get their pace going. They play their best when they can create offense off their defense. Like you said, when they're forcing turnovers, getting out on the break, pushing the pace, and you made them play half court. And there are two reasons why. One is because NU's offense was very effective, which meant not a lot of rebounds for DLSU to run and create fast break opportunities from. And two, because DLSU's defense is high risk, high reward, I like to say, under Coach Topex. They'll press you a lot. Recently they've been zoning a lot. They will send double teams. They will trap you. They'll give you different looks. They won't mind leaving themselves a little vulnerable as long as they can create turnovers and get running the other way. But NU, being the veteran team with veteran ball handlers, they knew how to break the press. They kept swinging the ball around until it found the open man in the zone. They were unselfish and they just played veteran savvy basketball. They made DLSU play the style they wanted to play. They've done that same technique against other UAAP teams. And aside from UP, they have had success against all teams in the league. Until today, the only team that has defeated them is UP.
And no, and that's a fact because NU earlier, there was something I don't know what it is because NU in the first quarter didn't look good at all. There was like a hitch in the offense. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the DLSU just collapsing on them on defense. I can't really say because it did not look like this was an offense that was prepared to go up against LaSalle. But now, entering the second quarter, obviously they did that 28-12 in favor of NU, 11-16 in the third, 14-13 in the fourth. So granted, 11-16 went to DLSU in the third, but still, the fact that they went 28-12 over DLSU in the second quarter, that proves that there were some minor adjustments in that they didn't have to force Jake Figueroa to be a scorer. They just needed him to be there and help everyone else get their shots in because Steve Nash Enriquez, 4 for 4 from 3, and then 75% from the field, 6 of 8 overall. Omar John, 5 of 8, with what is this? 3 blocks and 2 steals. So it was a concerted effort, or at least a team effort from NU the whole way through. And there were some crucial mistakes on DLSU's part that I wasn't entirely sure what they were planning on doing. Although they did lose, I think we have to talk about this now. They did lose Boris Marasigan to a very questionable play.
Well, first of all, I should say that Voris getting thrown out of the game, a huge part of that is his fault. It was clear from the replay that he extended the arm. And at this point, he's in his second year in the UAAP already. He is more important to his team now than he was before the season started because of the injuries to Amos and Baklaan. And they could have really used his presence today with the way NU was being physical, with the way NU likes to play, and with the way the offense looked like it was just having a difficult time getting anything going for so long, for many stretches, I mean. They could have really used Marasigan, and he just has to be more, there has to be better maturity in that situation for DLSU's young player on the rise. Because look, he's talented. We know this. We saw in that game against UP when he was crashing the boards and using his wide body to stop bigger opposition in the paint that he can be really useful. He had that absolutely amazing up and under layup with the left hand in the first quarter that had people standing up. And by the way, crazy enough, one more thing that made this win so impressive for NU was that crowd differential earlier at Mo Arena must have been like 85 to 15 DLSU. I could not hear the NU crowd at all. Now, granted, maybe, I mean, I can't really hear the whole arena, right? But it felt dominantly green, audio and visual in that arena earlier. And that did not phase NU at all. So, another reason to be impressed by the Bulldogs. But back to Voris, he just has to be smarter than that because his team needs him more than they did previously. They need him on the court. And part of who Voris is as a player, whether people like it or not, and most people outside of LaSalle will obviously not like it, is yung matapang attitude, yung won't back down against anyone. Sige, like, that somewhat to bring that not just the physicality, but the intimidation factor to some degree. And a lot of teams need that, whatever level of basketball. But you need to be able to do that while maintaining some level of control. And Voris needed to have more control there. Now, with all that said, we should also add Omar John, Mick Panisi would be very proud of you. I mean, you did what you had to do, Omar John. Respect, I guess. I felt like that should have been a technical because it was an egregious flop. Just, you know, Hollywood level. It was so clear in the replay as well. But hey, ultimately, John got, I guess, what he intended to. I'm not sure if he intended to get Boris thrown out of the game because that was Marsigan deciding to push out with the arm. But let's just say Omar John definitely sold it.
No, 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 no. He definitely did. Like, I don't want to take away from what Boris Marasigan did because it was very clear in the replay what he did. But the aftermath or the after effect of what he did was, I think, there was a little extra there. There was some football levels of flopping from Omar John. Possibly, I wouldn't know. I wasn't the one who got hit in the stomach. I wouldn't know. So, side note,
I mean,
one of the bigger
come on,
problems.
Carl. He got hit on the stomach and then took 4 seconds to realize, oh, I got hit on the stomach. This
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah. Ano nga, bro? It's the adrenaline issue because the adrenaline was keeping him up. Eh.
Ah, bro. I'm just gonna say someone needs to do a who did it better side by side video comparison. Mick Benisi and Omar John. I'm not gonna lie. Look, a lot of the LaSalle fans were absolutely pissed. I was cracking up. It was funny. Now, granted, I thought it should have been a technical foul, but I'm like, Omar, really?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if there is already one on X. Knowing how people are now in Twitter and X, I'm sure there's one already out there. There's no way
Man.
no one hasn't done it yet.
Quickly on Boris too. I think it's likely he's gonna be suspended in part because this is his second infraction. Now, technically, you don't get an automatic suspension just because you have multiple infractions because we're following FIBA rules now and it's the commissioner's decision. But just basing it on what Boris did, how strict the commissioner's office has been about physicality, and the multiple times that a similar situation has happened, I would say at least one game. I think he's gonna get suspended.
No, I think it's correct because if I'm remembering correctly, they called it I think the referees did. They called it an act of violence. So that was the reasoning for for him getting thrown out. But if it were to be deemed that by Commissioner Jai and the office, yeah, maybe one game. I think one game's likely. Two might be a little egregious. I'm not entirely sure because you have to take into consideration that Omar John kind of sold it really, really well. So two might be egregious, one is likely.
Stole it really, really well. Um, I lost my train of thought. I just pictured it again happening in my mind, and it was so funny. Yeah, and the next game for DLSU next Sunday is against Ateneo at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. Now, Ateneo is playing against UE on Wednesday before that contest, so there's a very good chance the Sol will be down Amos, Baclan, and Marasigan, three rotation players for that game against the Blue Eagles. Now, granted, Ateneo, it's not like they've had the best injury luck, right? They Jared Bahay is not 100%. And I don't think he's gonna be 100% until after the season when he can really get time to rest and heal. We still don't know when exactly Divine Adili will return. The expectation is he will return though sometime this season. That game on Sunday is suddenly with such high stakes. Whether or not, and Ateneo is probably gonna win on Wednesday unless UE pulls the once or twice a year UE thing where they keep the games really competitive and they have a chance to win. But that game on Sunday is gonna be massive for both squads. But back to NU real quick. So they've established they can beat anyone. Now, that UST game in the first round was close, but given how UST has looked lately, it's not like we can say, oh, NU has to be worried about UST. Because UST has their own issues they have to work through first. They have matched up well against DLSE. If you thought 52% shooting was impressive today, they actually shot 56% in the first round contest against DLSE. So there's something about this DLSU defense. DLSU, by the way, three straight losses against NU dating back to last season. There's something about this DLSU defense that NU likes to attack and NU has fun with. Ateneo, we saw that NU took care of them easily. That second round contest in the second half. Um, and the other main contenders right now that I would put there, really the only one that gives NU a headache is UP. Now, suddenly the conversation about NU and UP has become, yeah, yung NU, matatalo naman yan sa UP, sigurado it's a bad matchup. I've seen a lot of people comment that or say that. And don't get me wrong, I also think that UP matches up well against NU because, again, in basketball, so much of this comes down to who you match up against, right? But I don't think it's, if UP and NU face each other in a Final Four or finals, I don't think it's like a 100% certainty that UP will beat NU. Now, if I had to make a prediction, I would pick UP because the history tells us that UP matches well against NU. But to just discount NU in a hypothetical series against UP, I don't think that's the wise thing to do.
No, that's not fair at all to NU. Even to UP to a certain degree because if you say that UP will easily manhandle or even easily defeat NU, that's discrediting a lot of the work that NU has done so far this season. Now, it's 0-2 for this season for NU, But if they do match up in a Final Four series, or may it be in the finals, potentially, that's a 3 game series. And it's gonna go down to the wire. I don't think either team will be able to figure each other out until that do or die game 3 if it's in the finals. But now, granted, NU is on a roll and UP is the only one to beat them. Iba yung Final Four basketball eh. Like, eliminations, I get it. You can lose to a couple of teams in the elims, and then by the Final Four, you lock things down, you're prepared. It's gonna be different by then.
Yeah, I think UP matches up well against NU in part because from UP, LaSalle, Ateneo, and UST, I like UP's collection of interior scoring the most. And what do I mean by that? Ateneo, even with Ladi, wasn't exactly a great interior scoring team. They rely on the talents of Escobar, Ladi, and their jump shooting capabilities. UST has Colin Sakoe, yes, but they like playing a system where there's four guys spreading the floor and Akoe's inside. So, as NU proved, when you can stop that one inside force, you can bother that UST offense. DLSU has Mike Phillips, but other than Mike Phillips, they don't really have another reliable big man. Now, I know some will say, okay, Luis Pablo. To me, Luis Pablo is a tweener between a small forward and a power forward. He's not like a legit big. Compared to, like, let's say, the Bulldogs with Palacielo, Padrones, Omar John. And DLSU, you can kind of make the argument too that they're almost like an FSA less team this season. Now, with all due respect to Bright Nwanko, was part of the season 86 championship team and is still part of the team this season. He hasn't earned the trust of the coaches. I remember earlier in the game, there was this sequence where Coach Topex puts Bright in the first half, and I don't think we saw him in the second half. Topex put Bright in the first half, and a few possessions later, instead of just putting his hands up and guarding straight up someone from NU, a shorter guy, I forgot who, might have been Manansala, he goes up, leaps, guy catches him in the air, foul, free throws. And the coaching staff, you should have seen the reaction. They're just like, why? Why would you leap? Why would you go up? Just put your hands up, right? So outside of Mike, right now, LaSalle doesn't have a reliable big man. You can count Pablo as a big man, sure, but in terms of an old school big man or just a big man with size, they don't exactly have that. And that's why I think UP matches up well against NU because they can go to Naruka, one, then they can also go to Gani Stevens. Those are two guys who can legit provide interior scoring for UP throughout NU. And I think the way to beat the NU defense is you have to get the ball in the paint and you have to be a threat in the interior. That's one of the aspects I wondered earlier. Why didn't LaSalle try to go to Mike more? Maybe get him a few post ups, get the ball to him rolling to the rim more. Because if you're gonna take jump shots and you're gonna miss them, and chances are you're gonna miss a lot of them against NU because their defense is so stout. You're allowing those wings to grab rebounds. Figueroa, Manansala, Francisco, and then they will push the pace and they can slow it down and attack the mismatches, or they can score on you in transition.
I think the counter argument to the getting Mike Phillips a lot of more touches in the paint is that NU locked it down eh. Like, they
Mm.
were keying in on denying the ball from Mike Phillips because they know that Mike will take the ball somewhere around the free throw line or maybe a little inside, drive to the hoop, maybe get an end one. So I think it was part of their game plan. It looked like it to me, at least, that ball denial to Mike was the key on the defensive end. Because every time they tried to make a pass on the inside or tried to break the press or the zone of NU, wala eh. It wasn't materializing at all. And that's where you saw the struggle for Jacob Cortez, Earl Abadam to a certain degree, even EJ Goliena. EJ Goliena was scoreless, except for shooting 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He was 0 for 4 on the field goal. So 0 of 2 from 2, and then 0 of 2 from 3. So it was, I don't want to call it an aberration because we've seen this from DLSU so far this season, where if their number 1 and number 2 option in a play goes down, what's our number 3? Who do we go to next? Who can we trust to at least try to make a good play that would at least draw a foul, get us to the rim, maybe a cleaner shot? But there wasn't in this game, Halos. Didn't see it.
So, quick stats in the Sol. Jacob Cortez actually 16 points and 6 of 12 shooting. Efficient, right? But 5 turnovers. And if you just watch the game, the fact that his stats ended up like this actually just goes to showcase how much talent he has and how good he is because he was getting, I mean, not literally, but he was in a basketball sense getting beaten up by that NU defense. Now, I'm not sure if you have the stats in front of you right now, Carl, but top of your mind, if you had to guess, how many DLSU players had more field goal attempts than Mike Phillips?
More field goal attempts than Mike Phillips, I would say. Sige, I'm not looking. Not gonna look at the stats. Because let's make it a guessing game. Siguro, let's say four.
Exactly. Four guys
Oh,
had more field goal attempts than Mike Phillips. Jacob Cortez had 12, Abadam had 12. Now, granted, those guys combined 11 of 24. Yeah, so not that bad when you combine it. But Makalalag, 2 of 9. Luis Pablo, 3 of 9. Mike Phillips, 3 of 8. Now, Mike did have 11 free throw tests, but a lot of those free throws actually came from loose ball situations with DLSU being in the penalty and they got the fouls. I just don't think that's the right formula for LaSalle against NU. I think you have to let Mike win that matchup early on against John and against those NU interior guys. Get them into early foul trouble and just impose yourself in the paint. Because if you're going up against NU and you don't impose yourself physically or in the interior, they're gonna dictate the pace of the game. And that's why UP has succeeded against them this season. Now, granted, we should also mention NU was up by double digits in the first round game against UP. And outside of the hot start UP had in the start of the second round against NU in that first quarter, NU played them pretty even. So that just goes to highlight how difficult it is to beat the Bulldogs.
and I think on your point to Mike establishing himself earlier, there was a certain degree of Mike being you had that feeling na ano siya eh, he would be integral or at the very least impacting the game a lot more because that three to end I think it was the first quarter if I'm remembering it correctly.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was insane. I wasn't expecting that. Like, oy, Mike Phillips made the three. I think Lasalle's gonna take this one. May mga ganong moments in games you would know, and a lot of veteran fans or veteran players would know that. Like, flow of the game's going Lasalle's way, and you might not make this a close one potentially. But then, for some reason, LaSalle's offense just started sputtering. No one's moving around. Everyone was moving. It's just that the ball just could not penetrate the defense of NU. Now, I think the biggest issue for DLSU in this one, aside from getting Mike those touches, is the free throws, which we've been talking about for the entirety of the season. DLSU, for context, shot 20 of 36 from the free throw line. As for NU, they shot 12 of 18. They had 18 more free throws than NU, but only made 8 more than NU. That's not a Final Four team. You're not gonna win basketball games that way.
It's the nightmare that just keeps showing up over and over again. Remember, game three of the finals last year, free throws cost them. Semis against UP and Philwell, free throws cost them. A lot of games so far this season, the free throws have cost them as well. And it's kind of lazy to say they just need to find ways to win despite knowing that they're going to shoot bad free throws because it can't be that bad. Now, no one's saying they have to be perfect. No one's saying they have to hit 90%. But you can't be making 20 out of 36 only and win against a top seeded team in the UAAP. All right, let's get to the second game. Adamson in another overtime thriller. FEU, however, takes the win. Now, it was a game where I came away impressed by both squads. Adamson once again portraying superb spirit, rallying from a 9 point deficit in the final period. They trailed by as many as 13 points. They forced overtime. Ray Allen Torres is incredible right now. I am just impressed by this kid. Not just the fact that he's putting up numbers, because he did put up numbers in this game, finished 24 points on 8 of 18 shooting, 4 rebounds. But with the confidence of which he's playing, he's hitting a lot of clutch shots. He is taking pull-up shots that you see guys usually, and there's like the kind of pull-up shots that Jorge Bautista would take or Jacob Cortez would take. Ray Allen Torres is taking and making them. He's showing off a better driving game as well. He's not just a jump shooter. He's becoming a three-level scorer. And he seems to be next in line to be one of those standout Adamson guards under Coach Nash. We know that Montebon came into the season as kind of like the lead guy for Adamson, at least from the guards, because said Manzano's going to be a factor. And we kind of looked at Erolon and Medina as, okay, one of those two guys will be next in line, especially when Montebon struggled early. And we're like, okay, maybe the ball should be with Erolon more. But I feel from all four of those guys, Ray Allen Torres might be the best option right now. Just in terms of bravado. Remember, he hit that game winner against UP, just in terms of guts, just in terms of swagger also, and big shot making. Now, Adamson has a lot of big shot makers. Montebon, Erlon, that last game against UST, right? But from all of them, I like Ray Allen Torres the best. And it's just great. It's a great story because he wasn't heavily recruited after his UPIS career. I think, and this actually happens a lot in the recruitment game, is when recruiters or scouts see players putting up stats, but they're for teams not winning, there's immediately a bias sometimes. Like, okay, that's a, you know, looter in a riot type of stats, right? Empty calories almost. Where you're putting up numbers, yes, but that's because someone on the team has to score and your team's getting blown out anyway. And he bid his time. I mean, he did residency, didn't play a lot last season. It's one of those old school college basketball stories where someone who's not exactly highly hyped about just silently does the work behind the scenes, is given an opportunity, and then shines slowly by slowly through hard work and perseverance. So I really like that Adamson has Ray Allen Torres because he's gonna be a standout for them for a while.
And the thing with Ray Allen Torres is I watched that game winner against UP again from a different angle. This one's coming from the basket, so you can see the shot coming. There was no hint that he was ever gonna pass that ball up. So you're like that confidence in a basketball player and someone that you want on your side of the field when it's time for those types of moments that
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't need Montebon, I don't need Erolon, just give me some space, I will do something. And he did do something to his credit. Now, it might have been a surprise to a lot of people. I was one of those people. But now, as the season progressed, Ray Allen Torres is turning out to be a major revelation for the Soaring Falcons. And it's nice because Adamson needs that type of player because earlier, Montebon experienced his third foul, or he gained his third foul halfway through the first quarter. I don't know what Coach Nash was thinking there, that he could maybe stave it off until the second half or maybe even the second quarter. But, you know, UAP basketball is super physical. So Montebon picked up that foul way too early. I think he sat the second, if I'm remembering correctly as well. So you needed those types of players like Ray Allen Torres to step up when questionable, or at least, no, not questionable, medyo alanganin situations come up. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen a lot more for Adamson as the season progresses because the final four race, super tight. Super tight right now.
So I also just want to shout out said Manzano, 19 points and 9 of 13 shooting, 12 rebounds, 4 steals. Remember, I picked him in our UAAP fantasy draft with Coach Willie, Roy, and Maui. And I think said would make my team win. Just saying, for those who checked out that episode. But quickly on FU, we talked earlier about the difference between a superb scorer and a star player. You know, if your scoring's not going well for you, can you contribute in other ways? Well, Kirby Wongkopa, this rookie for the FEU Tamaraws, 11 points, now 3 of 11 shooting, not efficient, as many shot attempts as points, but 17 rebounds, 1 steal, 4 assists, and he had that massive block on Montebon in overtime, which I thought sealed that win for Adamson. He missed 3 out of 4 free throws to seal the deal, but because he's a rookie, I'm gonna let that slide as well as the 5 turnovers. Just overall, his body of work, his floor game, how he was there on the offensive glass and the defensive glass, how he was ready to defend, get deflections, bother passing lanes, provide for his teammates without forcing the issue too much. I mean, even John Pasolo was 3 out of 16. So for FEU to be up by 9 midway through the fourth period and to still figure out how to seal that game in OT despite a combined 6 out of 27 from Moncopa and Pasaol. It's very impressive. And Kirby Moncopa really impressed me in particular because he knows how to play the game of basketball without just having to be a scorer. He's everywhere. If you watch the way FEU plays, he's in almost every play, just mucking things up, just making his presence known, making an impact. What's crazy too is this guy was in a motorcycle accident that sidelined him for 2 years. Now, the fact that he's younger and his prime is still ahead of him probably aided in the recovery. He's stronger compared to, like, if let's say, knock on wood, an injury like that happens to someone in their 30s, right? But the fact that he hasn't practiced that long, he didn't play competitive basketball that long, and now here he is at the UAAP college level making key defensive plays and winning plays because he also had a clutch three-pointer in the fourth quarter before that game went to overtime. It's remarkable. I just don't know how else to describe it. It's remarkable.
That's the thing with Kirby because a lot of during the off season I've gained a lot of alumni friends from FEU. For whatever reason, I don't entirely remember why we just got to talking and they were like I was asking them, Sino who do I look forward to this season sa FEU? Because rarely do I come across a diehard FEU fan, lalo na itong mga alumni. And aside from Joric Bautista, because that is a given, I asked for like a name that I wouldn't know. And they said Kirby Moncopa. Sabi ko, sino ba to? Like, why would I care what Kirby Moncopa brings to the table? And they said, bro, trust me, he's something special. We don't know yet if it will translate to the pros or at least to the college scene, but we think there's something special with him. And then we did see that today. I would say this is the Kirby Moncopa breakout game, even though we've his name has been on the radar for quite a while now. 3 of 11 from the field, 17 rebounds. The 17 rebounds are insane. And then the five turnovers as you mentioned, sige, forgivable. But in 32 minutes, that's the type of impact that Coach Sean Chambers is looking for from his players. Like he's not asking you to score all the time or to always be on the lookout for steals. It's just do your job. And I think FEU needs that guy. And Kirby Moncopa, to a certain degree, at least this season, is taking up the challenge.
Absolutely. It's crazy to think that next season FEU could have a roster of Joric Bautista, who has 1 year left after this season, John Ray Pasaol, who already has improved a lot in his second year, and imagine how much more in his third season. Kirby Moncopa with an additional year of practice and experience and playing time. And he's probably also going to be in even better shape than he is this season because he's going to get more reps in the off season. And you add that with Mo Konate, who is your safety net on both sides of the floor. Jedrick Daa, who's kind of starting to find his role in this team as a defensive stopper, as a disruptor. And even someone like Montemayor, who early in the game was effective for FEU. And then you add a guy like Zayn Mahmoud, a former Batangilas recruit, coming in next season to give FEU another big man to rely on. Neil Owens won't be there anymore because he's a one and done prospect. But you figure Coach Sean will use those connections to find another one and done prospect. Another season of Luke Felipe growing. I kept thinking because in the preseason I said I think this is gonna be a year for FEU where they're gonna win some games and they're gonna be competitive in the games that even they lose, and that made me say, "Wow! Imagine if they had VJ. That meant by season 89, they could be a championship contender because then you'd have Konate, VJ, Moncopa, Pasaol, Bautista, Mahmoud, so and so, Nakai, Jaden Jones. But even without VJ, I think they've made me believe that they can be a legit title contender by next season.
And the
I'm
thing
not
with
sure. How,
VJ,
yeah, go,
the
go,
thing
go.
with VJ, if VJ is there, medyo hot take-ish, I think, or not really. I think if VJ is there, Kirby wouldn't be this guy. I think
No,
mahiya siya.
we
We would
did talk
differ.
about that. Yeah, last time. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, yes, I agree with you. I don't think Kirby would have developed as much. But in terms of if I'm thinking when they're ready to compete a championship, right? It would be great if VJ was there. But now, I think they can do it by next season, even without VJ.
I think possible because I will take credit for this. I am one of the people, at least in the circle of sports journey, who was completely positive on FEU this season. I had high hopes for them entering the season because, like what I said, I spoke to the alumni, I spoke to a couple of people within FEU. Syempre, they were sad that VJ wasn't there, obviously, given na yun. But the fact that they had Joric Bautista, they had John Ray Pasaol, Kirby Mongkopa coming in, Mo Konate still being Mo Konate, ang taas na expectations nila. But at the same way, it's tempered to the point that they're excited and they know that they can compete this season at the very least. Pero syempre, as we've seen, the ball hasn't just fallen their way so far.
Yep. In some games.
Some games.
The difference of them next year compared to this season, I feel, will be those close losses they had this year. They're gonna find a way by next season to win those games. And I know it's too early to look at season 89, but just a brief overview. I mean, do we know for a fact LaSalle is still gonna be elite when they don't anymore have Mike Phillips? They're gonna need a big man. Now they have some FSAs in waiting, but are those FSAs surely gonna keep them atop title contention status? Like Mike, it remains to be seen. We know UP is gonna be probably the favorite by next season. And by the way, all of you enjoyed this season because I don't think next season's gonna have as much parity as we have this
Yeah.
season. NU's gonna lose all those graduating guys. UST is gonna lose their graduating guys. Ateneo's one and done guys are gonna be gone. And outside of Bai and Tuano, who else do we know for a fact? And maybe a Dili out. Who else do we know for a fact will be like, you know, players who can lead Ateneo to like contention status next season, right? They're relying a lot on their one and duns. So honestly, UP's in the best position for 89 right now because a lot can change. But right behind them might be FEU.
That's not a far-fetched thought. Na FEU would be the second best team in the league next season. If things are continuing as it is, sure, possible. Pero like what you just said, a lot of things can change. But looking at how FEU is right now, yung close losses nila this season shouldn't even be that close eh. Like they should have been out talented, they should have been outgunned in those games. Pero it's the effort that counts most for FEU. And it's corny, it's cheesy, it sucks that I have to say, oh, okay lang yan, ma-effort naman yung team na yan. Pero yun yung truth eh. You cannot take that away from FEU. Like, FEU this season has shades of the UST teams, I think last season or the past two seasons, or at least the late 2019s na full on effort. Like, they will out-talent you from time to time, pero yung raw talent that is there, the foundations are there for FEU next season. And now it's more about who will take the next leap and how big will those leaps be.
All right, let's get to some mailbag questions now. Questions sent in by members of the Navs Effect community group chat. First, from Luis. Can NU go all the way or do they need someone to eliminate UP before the finals? I think NU has the possibility, the potential, the talent, the camaraderie, and everything in between to go all the way. I think they're a legit championship contender. Even if that means they may have to face UP. Again, if I had to put money on it and make a bet, then I would take UP. I think UP matches up well against them, but I don't think that NU doesn't stand a chance against them. I think NU can beat anyone in the league.
Ako, I will let Sean Ildefonso say it when we caught up the other nung NU Ateneo game. Bro, yung NU finals bound yan. Like, this is the most complete that I've seen NU in a while. And we've known that NU is dangerous for in spurts. We've always said na may asterisk lagi with NU, but this season, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like the losses to UP will hinder or at least limit their talents or yung ceiling nila of a championship. I think this will be NU's year. If, granted, if they can get over the UP hump. And it's not impossible for them to do so.
That's true. That would be a crazy finals if that does happen. From Edward, Objectively, how do you think the battle for fourth ends? I'd say no team names, pero parang bleep. Like three teams, team one highest quotient, team two and three step ladder to play one, fourth spot. Wait, what are you saying, Edward? Anyway, I guess Edward's main question is how do you think the battle for fourth ends?
How do I think the battle for fourth
Because okay,
ends?
let's recap it real quick. NU is
Ah.
8-2, UP 6-3, LaSalle is
Mhm.
6-4, UST is back to 4 at 5-4. Adamson is 5-5. They're at 5. Ateneo is 4-5 at 6. And FEU just hanging around 4-6 at 7th place. University of the East, you have my respects. But realistically, UST, Adamson, Ateneo, and FEU right now are battling for fourth. Now LaSalle could still join that. Heck, UP maybe if UP loses to USD on Wednesday. That's how crazy it is. But if you had to diagram how the fourth spot is determined, who do you think gets it?
You know what? I think I'm gonna say what I've been feeling the past couple of days. Sige, hot take. Ateneo goes 5-0.
The rest of the way. So that means they would beat UE on Wednesday,
You
at LaSalle
Lasal
on
on Sunday.
Sunday, and then their last three remaining games, they would beat US, not in order,
You
but they would beat UST, UP, and
Adamson.
who's
Adamson's the last game.
Adamson, exactly. There you go. Yeah. They would go 5-0. You think so?
Anyway, ilang beses na nangyari on the Navs Effect podcast where somehow I turn
I know
out right.
you're turning into
I'm
Carl
gonna.
Stradamus.
It shouldn't be me. It should be someone else that we know that should be called that. But oh, blurry camera. Pero yeah, it shouldn't be me who's doing that. But for whatever reason, nagkakatama ako on the Navs Effect podcast. So putting it out for the Ateneo community, we go 5-0. We're taking fourth or at least third.
Interesting. Okay, I like the confidence, Carl. So wait, you think Ateneo takes third? Then who takes fourth?
Fourth, I think it's gonna be Lasal.
Mm.
I think it might be Lasal.
And NU
Pero I'm
LaSalle
also
1-4.
yeah, I'm teetering on Lasal and Adamson.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
Medyo
I
in the
think
middle ako on that. How about you?
my best educated guess, I think that UP ends up with the one seed. I think NU will be. I think both teams will tie, but UP owns a tiebreaker. I think NU will be two. Huh. Oh, this is interesting. I think LaSalle will be three, and then I think Ateneo and UST will tie in a play-in for four
So
versus
playoff
five.
for 4-5. Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
playoff.
I think it's gonna be crazy. I think that Ateneo will win that game against UST, and that's what's gonna tie them in the standings, and then they're gonna face in the playoff. But I mean, talk about drama and fireworks, right? Let's see. Last question from Miles: is FEU good enough to spoil the hopes of the other contenders before the season ends? I think they already kind of did today. If Adamson doesn't make the final four, I think we're gonna circle back to this game and be like, oh, Adamson should have won that if they wanted to be in the final four. But who else does FEU have to play? They still have to play LaSalle. They still have to play Ateneo. No, not FEU
Teka,
played Ateneo
let me
already.
check.
That.
F versus FTU, it's UST,
Mm-mm.
NU,
Mm-mm.
LaSalle, and
Mm-mm.
then UE.
And then UE.
Yep.
If I had to pick one team that FU would play a spoiler for in that crew, it would be LaSalle. Because FU has matched up well against LaSalle the last few seasons. I mean, just go back to their first round encounter. So, yeah, thank you to our members of the community for sending in questions. Much appreciated. All right, Carl. So, we're going to play a little game right now. I just thought of earlier. Okay. Do you have the Cooper's Coffee House menu on your laptop screen right now?
Teka, let me pull it up. Hindi mo sinabi to before we started recording.
My apologies. I swear I just thought of it in this recording. But anyway, we're gonna play a fun little game. So last year, Nico Rocha and I had this comparison dynamic where we compared UAAP teams to pizza brands in the Philippines. All right. If I'm not mistaken, someone was called Domino's, and a lot of people laughed about it. By the way, guys, just to let you all know, Domino's in the States is absolutely amazing. All right. But in the Philippines, I agree, not exactly elite. So we're going to compare all eight UAAP teams right now to Cooper's coffee items on their menu. Could be coffee, could be matcha, could be ube. But yeah, I just thought, why not end this episode since it's been so fun with a little game? All right. You take four schools, I'll take four schools.
Sige, game.
Start. Pick any school. Any school and a drink.
Any school in a drink. I would take Adamson as dirty matcha.
What? Adamson is dirty matcha. Okay, explain. Because there's a lot of
There's a good
caffeine in a dirty matcha.
Yeah, there's gonna be good reason why. Because Adamson, for whatever reason, they enjoy coming from behind this season.
Pause coming from. Sorry, go on.
Super pause. I was about to say super pause on that.
Pause.
I heard it. I heard it. It lagged in my head. Like, wait lang. Teka, alanganin yun eh. Very, very pause. Whoa. That's my bad. I'm sorry.
Go
The
for it,
dirty
bro.
matcha
You're
because
good.
Adamson, they like chasing leads. Ayan. Okay? And then they push it into overtime. So it's the same with the
Oh
caffeine of coffee and then the matcha.
God, I love how you made all those. I love how you had all the symbolism ready, just like that on the go. Even if I didn't, I think you're better on the spot compared to
No,
prepared, man.
it's the sports journey in me.
All right, I'm gonna go with the most obvious choice. I'm gonna go with DLSU as an iced matcha. First of all, it's green, so duh, I guess. But second, when you get a really good matcha, it can taste really, really yummy. So when DLSU is playing good, it looks really, really good. But then sometimes when the mix isn't right, it could leave a very bitter taste in your mouth. The matcha can. By the way, with Coopers, it will never leave a bitter taste in your mouth. It's always good stuff. And when DLSU plays bad, it can leave a bitter taste in your mouth too. So yeah, DLSU is a matcha, a nice matcha. You go next, Carl.
All right. Huh.
By
Hmm.
the way, teams just this season, not the
Hmm.
program's history, because that would be a different conversation. Just
Ay,
this
di,
season.
problem yun. Problem yan. Nah, this one, ito medyo interesting. I think, let's go to UE.
Mm.
Do I say? Yeah, sige, fine. I'm gonna say it. UE is chocolate.
Like a mocha?
No, yeah. Yeah, like
Like an
just the
iced
plain mocha.
chocolate. Okay,
Like,
why
nice.
why so?
How
All
do I even
offense, no
do this?
defense.
Hindi, ano kasi, UE is that one reliable team that you want to see win, di ba? And
But
then when you look at the,
I guess so, yeah.
it's reliable eh. It's the reliable flavor, but at the same time, hindi mo siya laging pipiliin because sawa
Mm.
ka na. And UE,
Mm.
God's sake, please manalo kayo pero not against Ateneo.
I like it. Okay, UE is an iced chocolate. Okay, my next pick. I think UST is the brown butter latte. It's delicious, right? When things are going great. I mean, it's smooth, the ball is moving, the brown butter is going down your throat, the shooting, the floor spreading. It's like so modern and so nice. And that just reminds me of a brown butter latte. So I'm going to go brown butter latte for UST. Your turn.
Ooh, sobrang limited bigla ah. So let's go to UP as a matcha.
But
Hindi,
matcha's
sorry, joke.
ready.
Hindi. Wait, hindi. No, mali ako. Ateneo as matcha. As
Wait,
in
no,
yung
you
plain
can.
matcha lang.
No, we can't
Plain
do
matcha, iba
matcha.
yung dirty matcha eh.
No, but I chose matcha for Lasal.
Right? O nga pala.
Yeah.
Fine. Ateneo as ube latte.
Oh, I swear to God, I was gonna pick the same thing. Ateneo's ube latte. I swear. Okay, I want to hear your explanation.
Kasi ube, may flavor siya eh. Okay, let's describe it as that. There's a certain flavor na not everyone likes. And Ateneo this season, not everyone likes them. Start of the season, everyone loved them. Here it out. Ateneo, not everyone loves Ateneo because it's Ateneo and they've been dominating the UAAP. Okay? So this season, it's an ube latte because acquired taste siya. Ateneo is an acquired
Mm,
taste.
I see, I see.
That's where I'm taking it. Ikaw, where are you taking it? Where were you gonna take it?
Uh, hmm. I was gonna say that it's out of the ordinary compared to like your usual caffeinated drinks, and the way Ateneo just is built this season, built so much in the one and dones and the shooting and not a lot of interior scoring. It just reminded me of an ube latte. I think you explained it better. This one, I feel you'll agree. The NU Bulldogs
Mm-hmm.
Americano. I see your
I can see
face.
that. I can
Right,
see that. I
right,
can see
right.
that. I can
The
see it. I can
NU
see it.
Bulldogs and Americano um, gets the job done. As simple as that. It's nothing sexy. It's nothing too extravagant. It's grounded, straight to the point. Americano gets the job done. That's it. The Bulldogs get the job done.
All right, who are we missing now?
So we have FEU and UP. Who do you want to take?
E- FEU and UP.
Yep.
Let me take FEU.
All right.
It's an espresso.
Huh. Wait, that surprises me. Why so?
When you watch FEU play, you're expecting a high octane offense game. It's very, very offensive, very, very quick. What is the one reason why you would take an espresso on a normal day? You need energy. FEU gives you that energy to just watch them the whole way. It's tiring to watch an FEU game. Pagod ako kanina when I watched FEU and Adamson. But the fact that
Ah,
they're
wow.
espresso, yung energy ng FEU, it's the perfect match for espresso.
Wait, who did you compare Adamson to again?
Dirty matcha.
Dirty Matcha. Okay. All right. Okay, I see it. FEU is espresso. And espressos are like shorter than other coffee drinks, and a lot of FEU's attack comes from Pasaol and Bautista, or the guards. For UP, I'm gonna go Spanish latte, iced Spanish latte. The reason why is because with a Spanish latte, more than the other sweet drinks, at least for me personally, you can taste the ground grounding factor of the coffee, but you can also taste the sweetness from the condensed milk and the Spanish latte side of things. I think that's how UP is. They're at their best when they're grounded, they're physical, they're defensively oriented, they're running, but they can also be spectacular every now and then, like a Spanish latte is when you take those first few sips. Thank you, of course, to Cooper's Coffee House. Carl, thanks so much for joining me, man. Do you have anything that you're working on that you want to share about?
Right now, no, not a lot really. Just working on myself. Well, usual cliche. Nah, but me and the boys at Humble Bola, check us out. If you're not doing anything, we do a lot of, well, we do a lot of funny comments or like posts every once in a while. We did one for Halloween. It hit a lot of people. Aljon Mariano, I'm so sorry. It was not my fault, but we had to do it. So it was a multo special for Humble Bola and the boys. So we had to do that. And play daily fantasy, guys. It's been fun. I've been playing it myself. I'm completely obsessed. So check it out if you're not doing anything.
Fantastic. Yes, check out Daily Fantasy again. 100K on the line per week with a particular game. And if you guys want to know which game, I believe Daily Fantasy will be posting about it in advance so you could prepare. Put your fantasy knowledge and information up to the task. Who knows? You might win a trip to your dream destination, right? I'll be looking at that for sure. Carl, thanks a lot, man. Always a pleasure having you. I'll see you around.